Sheldon. Yes, we talked about social skill deficits when it came to individuals with disabilities. But we're going to spend a little bit more time here because of, to me, several different reasons. COVID is a primary, and that is the social emotional learning aspects of a lot of our students. And you and I have talked about this in terms of that anxiety. A lot of us are feeling it right now. My goodness, we haven't had a break since before Labor Day, and things are going. And there's a lot of uptick with COVID, a lot of other things, and of course the election and the list of things goes on. But with that said, social skills themselves are a primary area of deficit for individuals with disabilities. Now, in general, we know prior to COVID, we had issues of bullying going on left and right. Now, we also have prior to COVID, my goodness, gun shootings. There was a modification at Lawrence High School, and there's a beautiful hallway. And on one side of it is second and first story all glass. If you have a chance, drive down Louisiana, you can see it. I think it's beautiful. Walking inside, all the light that comes in, and it even comes into the rooms on the other side. I don't know how many parents came up to me, and I serve on their site council, to say, oh my gosh, what were we thinking? And that was from a gun perspective. And that is the school safe with all that glass? It was really interesting. This is prior to COVID, and of course, COVID has taken on a whole nother reality. But where I'm going with this is all the different things going on here. Social skills has been a priority because it includes everything from social emotional learning to bullying to everything in between. Now, for individuals with disabilities, particularly individuals with disabilities that we see as learning disabilities, individuals with disabilities that are on the autism spectrum disorder and more in need of level 1 supports, the individuals that in the past we referred to as high functioning or Asperger's or things of that nature, there's a whole element, particularly in the upper elementary, middle, secondary area, that's a hidden curriculum. And Sean, why are you showing me urinals? Well, to me, this is a perfect example of the hidden curriculum. And yes, I apologize for the female audience. This is a male example, and you guys can transfer it over to the female example. But if you take a look at a normal list of urinals in a men's bathroom, the rules are, and they're not there, but the hidden rules are such that, well, if you go and they're all empty, you go and take one of the end ones, right? So you go to the far right or the far left. And if the far left is used, then you go to the far right. And if the far left and the far right are used, well, then you go to the middle one. And then if you come in and those three are being used, actually some folks will go into the toilet that has the actual door. I'm sorry, I cannot remember what that is called. Anyways, what you mean you don't use the between ones? Well, it depends upon the individual. Now, the first time I probably ran across an individual, and I think I've mentioned this, on the autism spectrum that was in need of level 1 supports was in college. And I'm at something similar to this, and the individual comes up and stands right next to me and starts using the one right next to me and actually puts out his hand and wants to shake my hand while we're both going to the bathroom. So what do you teach that? Well, no, actually, you never teach it. It's not a curriculum. It's something you observe. It's something that maybe you're reflected on by dad or something along those lines, or maybe by mom, but it's not part of what you do instructionally. And yet, we know it's a common area of social skill difficulties, particularly for individuals with disabilities. Now, the DSM-5, when they actually note what a social skill deficit is they mark it as an impairment, okay? And everything from nonverbal, so body postures, facial expressions, things of that nature. It's that failure, because of this and other reasons, to develop peer relationships. It's that lack of seeking to share enjoyment, and overall that emotional reciprocity. I'm having difficulty today. You know what that word is. I won't let me try. Okay. Now, with that, they're nonverbal, they're initiation, they're reciprocal. There's an element of cognitive. All these fall into elements of expectation that we aren't necessarily taught. We may be modeled, we may be exposed to, but they're assumed by upper elementary and middle, we of course have. So let's take a look at the nonverbal. Nonverbal, a lot of this is cues, right? And that is we express thoughts, feelings, intentions through a lot of facial expressions, gestures, body language, and over a couple times oh, okay, ooh, that facial expression means you're angry. Got that. Ooh, that gesture means that I've done something that I need to get clarity. Body language. Oh, you're folding your arms and your legs. You're certainly communicating something there to me as well. Now, in terms of nonverbal, I'm going to show just a portion of this in respect to friends. I'm not going to spend all our time on this. It's about 5 minutes. I'm going to let you folks take a look at this at your leisure, and I'm going to ask that you would take a look at this at your leisure. But here you go. We'll pop over here and bring this over here so we can see it. And oh, I guess we got a little commercial for Disney. There we go. All right, here we go.
I'm pregnant. And you're the father, by the way, but you got it.
No, I could get him to forgive us. I don't know. I'm telling you. I can do it. Yeah, he can do it.
All right, so these are just the beginning. There's a lot of different examples here to go along with. And I'll let you guys take a look at this at your leisure. But the idea here is that we have these nonverbal cues in our communication that are so critical. And again, these are things that are generally not taught and yet so critical. There's also this idea of this give and take in the interaction. And so let me give you an example of this one, all right? All right.
To have a conversation, not only do you have to get someone's attention, but you also have to take turns speaking and listening. Let's see what happens in a conversation between Sam and Jonathan.
Hey Jonathan, I got a puppy yesterday. His name is Max. He's a standard poodle and he's really cute.
Oh, I have a dog too. His name's Cecil, and we take him for walks and stuff.
Yeah,
Oh, and Cecil? Yeah, he goes up to my bed to go to sleep.
yeah, and he
Oh, my dog's really cool because we like take him for walks and we run with him.
Let's see what everyone's thinking.
keeps interrupting me. He won't let me tell him about my dog. I want to tell Sam all about my dog. He doesn't give me a chance to talk.
People will only want to talk to you if you stop and listen to what they have to say too. If you don't, the friend will probably get frustrated and walk away. Let's see what Jonathan could have done differently to get a better outcome.
Hey Jonathan, I got a dog yesterday. His name's Max, and he's a standard poodle, and he's really cute.
Oh, I have a dog too. His name is Cecil.
Yeah, that's cool. My dog, he can do like tricks. I take him outside and play with him.
I really want to tell Sam about my dog, but he really wants to tell me about his dog.
Now I'll provide a link for this, and I know I've already gone well into a minute, but this is actually very helpful for a couple different reasons. First of all, it shows this idea of that social interaction and the word I can't say. Next, it offers an example of what's called a video model. We'll do a presentation on that later for today. So that social interaction is really critical, and oftentimes individuals with social deficits will not appreciate that social interaction, and what you'll find, particularly individuals on the autism spectrum that are more in need of level 1 supports, they tend to perseverate and tend to share, I'm an expert on this, or I'd love to talk about this. Now, by the way, you'll really see it with individuals when it comes to this instance, they are talking about dogs, where it might be the fact that I want to talk to you about dogs, and actually, no, you're talking to me about dogs, but I want to talk to you about the Battle of the Bulge, because I love the Battle of the Bulge, and the list of things goes on. Now, social cognition is another element. In here, it basically involves the intentions, the motives, the thoughts, the process of that social information, which is very complex. And again, something we tend to model, tend to mimic, and yet can be difficult. Here's an example of that.
I wanted to have a stable career, but college was too expensive. Eventually, I found out about the Google IT certificate.
You're just in time. I believe I've isolated the algorithm from making friends.
Sheldon, there is no algorithm for making friends.
Well, hear him out. If he's really onto something, we could open a booth at Comic-Con, make a fortune.
See, my initial approach to Kripke had the same deficiencies as those that plagued Stu the Cockatoo when he was new at the zoo.
Stu the Cockatoo?
Yes, he's new at the zoo.
It's a terrific book. I've distilled its essence into a simple flowchart that will guide me through the process.
Have you thought about putting him in a crate while you're out of the apartment?
Hello, Kripke. Yeah, Sheldon Cooper here. It occurred to me that you hadn't returned any of my calls because I hadn't offered any concrete suggestions for pursuing our friendship. Yet perhaps the two of us might share a meal together. Yeah, I see. Well, then perhaps you'd have time for a hot beverage. Popular choices include tea, coffee, cocoa. I see. No, wait, don't hang up yet. But what about a recreational activity? I bet we share some common interests. You tell me an interest of yours. Really? On actual horses? Tell me another interest of yours. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I have no desire to get in the water till I absolutely have to. Tell me another interest of yours.
Uh-oh, he's stuck in an infinite loop.
I can fix it.
It's interesting, but isn't ventriloquism by definition a solo activity? Yeah. Tell me another interest of yours. Is there any chance you like monkeys? Yeah, what is wrong with you? Everybody likes monkeys. Hang on, Kripke. A loop counter and an escape to the least objectionable activity. Howard, that's brilliant. I'm surprised you saw that.
Gee, why can't Sheldon make friends?
All right, Kripke, that last interest strikes me as the least objectionable, and I would like to propose that we do that together. Tomorrow. Yes, I'll pay. All right, goodbye. All right. Time to learn rock climbing.
Yes, Sheldon is quite the fun, isn't he? The element of Sheldon, of course, is he definitely is somewhat representative of individuals with autism, especially individuals in need of level 1 support. But as that illustration just shared, is that social cognition in terms of that communication, that whole process that was, yes, comical, it was also very complex. And that perspective taking, that self-awareness, and all those different elements can really get in the way when it comes to that social interaction. Now, in addition, within that component, or what we're dealing with in terms of interactions with social skill deficits, is this idea of that acquisition with performance. And that is that the fact that, how do you acquire knowledge and understanding to then be able to apply it within the actual performance. And so one thing is teaching it so that in this instance, for example, a young child may not know how to effectively join, so we need to teach it. And next, you need to practice and generalize it so they can actually perform it. Very, very complex. Now, we're going to talk about two different areas. And as we get into the next phase of things, we're going to talk about social narratives as one way of acquiring the information through knowledge and understanding. And then we're going to talk about video models as a way to be able to enhance the performance of that deficit. And by the way, social narratives do the same. So this was an overview, kind of give you a little feel. Hope you got a perspective there from the Sheldons of the world. Hope you got a perspective there of the video models. And then go back and watch that Friends when you get a chance. You'll see there's a lot of nonverbal components that's so critical that goes back to what, again, we refer to as that hidden curriculum, something we don't teach, and yet something that's very, very relevant and very, very important for individuals we're trying to serve.